This is a game that I played quite recently, and I was black. The time control was 8 minutes with 8-second increments. The opening was the Sicilian Defence, so let's take a look. My opponent opened, of course, with e4, c5, knight f3, d6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3, a6. Pretty standard stuff. Well, it is standard stuff. Bishop c4, e6, bishop e3, queen c7. Here I believe that white here should place retreats the bishop back to b3 because of the move that I played in the game. Instead of that, he played bishop b3, and here queen c7. Just, well, I don't know, he doesn't really win much time or tempo, but on the other hand, he did develop his bishop to b3, so I'm not so sure if that actually loses any time. So he played the opening move, bishop, queen to e2. I played a b5, bishop d3, and here I believe the book move is b4, but I played bishop b7, putting some pressure on the pawn on e4. And of course I'm also threatening to play b4 in this position and maybe picking up the pawn on e4, but as we will see, I didn't actually do that. So he castled long, and here I played b4 and knight a4, and instead of taking the pawn here, I chose to develop a piece. And also he does have this threat to put the bishop knight on b6 after, for example, the knight here moves somewhere, then that bishop on e3 protects the bishop and knight on b6, and I didn't like that, the move, because pawns aren't that important. So, and also it's better to develop a piece, and I did that. And I should also mention that taking with the knight in this situation is not as good as with the bishop, because getting rid of that bishop is always good. But on the other hand, knight b to d7, I can also play knight e5 and just taking off that bishop anytime. And I didn't like the move to take the pawn because, like I said, knight b6, and also potential moves like queen f3, and since that bishop would no longer be there, the rook was sort of hanging. So after that he played knight b3, and it looks like he's losing a knight here after bishop c6, but he found e5, and now he has to square c5 to get. And of course, if I take the knight like that, then of course he would just take my knight, and I mean, it doesn't make any sense. So I just played d takes e5, and here we played knight a to c5, and I just went a5. I mean, if you look at black's position here and compare that to white's, I have a pretty serious attack on the queen side where his king now is. So castling long was not a very good idea for him because of the moves b5 and a5 and a4, as we will see. So after a5 he played knight takes d7, knight takes d7, bishop b5, and here again a4, and those pawns are just, I mean, his queen side will be completely messed up. Bishop takes c6, queen takes c6, knight a1, not a very pleasant square for the knights, to say the least. Bishop e7, rook d3, and here I just castle away. I was first looking at if I could have played something like b3 or a3, or moves like that, then perhaps queen c3 and just have something going on over here, but I chose the most sensible move. I just castle away because my king had been in the center for too long anyway, and he can't really do anything here yet. I mean, he can't stop these pawns, because if actually did play c3, which was just pretty much a bad move. But I'll still have the options to play e3, b3, and so on. So it's better to just castle away. And again, if you compare the safety of my king to his, you can easily see that it's very difficult for the white king to find a safe square. Rook h to d1, knight f6. My idea here is to play knight d5, and you know, maybe someday play a move like knight c3 or whatever. He played f3, obviously too, although it wasn't really on my mind to play a move like knight e4, but he played f3 to stop that anyway. So I play knight d5, and now c3, which is just a big mistake in my opinion. So I just took won a pawn. Queen c2, more or less. Well, it's the only move. I can't take the rook, of course, because then I lose my queen on c6. So I played knight e2 check, and here we made another mistake. The correct move would have been to play this move, and now when I just exchange, he takes back with the knight, and now my knight has to move. Okay, black is better here, but you know, that would have been the right way, but he made a mistake. He played king b1, and here I just threw in a check, rook a to b1, b8 check. Another possibility, of course, was rook f to b8 check, but I chose the a rook, knight b3, and here I just exchange queens. Queen takes c2 check, king takes c2, a takes b3 check, a takes b3, bishop b4. He can't. Bishop b4 is a good move because now my next moves will be rook f to c8 check, and then his king is cut off from the d2 square, and if he goes behind the pawn like he did, then I'll also have this check. And since the rook will already be on the c file, if he ever moves his king, for example, to something like c8, then I can check over here, and you know, it's just terrible for white here. So bishop b4, h4, what else? Rook f to c8 check, king b2, bishop c3 check, king b1, rook takes b3 check, king a2, rook b2 check, king a3, rook a to a8 check. The only move here is, as you can see, bishop a7, and then simply rook takes a7 checkmate. Okay, it was not a perfect game in any way, but the biggest mistakes came here in the last couple of moves. It was, of course, this was a blitz game, so you can't expect a blitz game to be particularly great, but in any case black would have had a much better game, even if he'd played, you know, like I said, king d2 here. And so that was probably, and of course move c3, also a bad move. But as you can see, I mean, I could have played moves like rook f to c8 and just started pushing those pawns. So in any case, white would have had a very hard time. Okay, hope you enjoyed this, and see you soon.